Who is the Wrestling Classic?
I don't know. It's a loaded question. Um, I don't know. Where should I like? I'm a really passionate and a student of the game of professional wrestling. I'd say I'm always learning. Always want to know more about wrestling. And at the end of the day, I really want everybody else to appreciate wrestling the same way I do.
What was your favorite wrestling game growing up?
Game?
Game ever.
Probably honestly on the PlayStation 1. I had all of them because I had an older brother, so I had a Super Nintendo and an Atari and everything. But PlayStation 2's SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, that was probably the best one. I've been playing that for hours with a bunch of different people, and everybody had a blast playing it. Even if you weren't a wrestling fan, those games are fun to play.
Who did you play as
In that game,
in that game?
my favorite would probably be Goldberg because he did this kick that if you picked Goldberg, you keep kicking the guy over and over again just by pressing one button. There's no way to come around it. He's probably one of my favorites playing that game, but it depends. Every wrestler was wrestled a different style, just like in real life. So you could do different things with different wrestlers, which is really cool. But yeah, I always got more into like the booking thing. So I wouldn't just play the game. I would start like booking my own universe basically. So I'd be booking my own matches and my own shows and my own storylines just through the game and playing the game for more than what it was really supposed to be, because you couldn't technically do those things, but I was doing that myself, writing the matches on paper and all my pay-per-views on paper, and I have them all listed out because I've always had that mind of like wanting to, I guess, be in control of it, trying to tell good stories.
So you're the Wrestling Classic, but have you ever had personal ambitions to become a wrestler yourself?
I think anybody that's a wrestling fan, when you're a kid, you do. You want to be a wrestler. I think as I got older, that kind of changed. Mainly because I've broken a lot of bones in my life, just being a kid, being dumb, hanging out with people. I've broken my leg, arm, whatever. That I'm like, maybe I'm a little too fragile for wrestling, and I think I like the more creative aspect of it more than actual like the being a wrestler. Like I think I wanted to be more part of the booking and the creative and the storylines and building characters, because that's what caught my attention from wrestling. Like I love the wrestling too. Don't get me wrong. Like a really good match is a really good match, but I've always been stuck on like, wow, this guy's larger than life. This guy's a big character. Like, I'm not gonna say the Undertaker's had a bazillion 5-star matches, but if he wasn't as big as a character as the Undertaker is, then I don't know if I would be as big as a fan. Another great example that maybe a lot more people can relate to is that after Stone Cold Steve Austin broke his neck in 1997, he couldn't wrestle like stunning Steve Austin in the early 90s, like a mechanical, technical wrestler. But he was so over with his beer drinking and his middle fingers and all that stuff that like you were so involved with the character that he could be brawling in his matches and you were still so behind it. And I think I fell more in love with that whole character aspect that like, hey, you don't need to be the greatest wrestler in the world, but if you have a huge character, oh my God, like it adds to the total package, you know?
Talk a little bit about how your Instagram account started, what made you want to start it, and what kind of got you going to develop such a prominent wrestling account on Instagram?
I started it mainly because I remember growing up as a kid and, you know, the internet started becoming a bigger deal in the 90s, and going and finding like websites where you could talk to other wrestling fans and stuff, whether you were going onto forums and other things. And the biggest thing for me was being able to connect with those wrestling fans and have those conversations. So when it came to wanting to do that again, like I remember I deactivated my personal Instagram account because personal reasons. I was like, oh, like whatever. I'm like, I kind of lost that connection of talking to wrestling fans. So I followed a bunch of wrestling pages and I kind of would comment on there and get in debates and conversations about wrestling. I kind of miss that. So I'm like, why wouldn't I just make a wrestling page myself, and I'll just post some content. I can still follow those pages, get my information, have those conversations. And then it honestly started to grow from there, where it's like, oh, I have this opportunity to bring wrestling fans together, because there was this whole fan base that I started collecting because I was posting a lot of classic stuff, which wasn't very popular on Instagram at the time. It was more role play accounts and Shield fan pages and Bella Twin fan pages and stuff like that, or independent wrestling. I wanted to post the old school stuff. I wanted to post the Macho Mans, the Ultimate Warriors, the Bruno Sammartinos, you know, the Four Horsemen, and I started focusing a lot more on that. So I started bringing in the older fans, and then I realized, oh, I can bring in the new fans too if I start posting the new stuff. And it was a great way for me to connect the fans that don't watch wrestling no more to kind of know what's going on today and to be like, oh, so I used to love this when I was a kid or a teenager. I kind of fell out of it, and I follow this page that posts all the stuff I remember and I can reminisce about and I get happy about, and then I get to see this new stuff too. And for the younger fans, for the kids that weren't around, born after the year 2000, this is a place where they can learn about the classics. This is a place where they can learn the history of wrestling, the old stuff, and maybe want to jump on YouTube or jump on Wikipedia, download subscribe to the WWE network so they can watch this stuff, because they didn't know that like these things happen, but they get that 1 minute video clip of that picture of it. They're like, oh, what is this? What episode is this from? Where can I watch it? I know me being the passionate wrestling fan that I am, that I always was looking for more information. I always was reading magazines and reading websites and going on these forums and trying to find this stuff. So I know there's kids out there like that too. And I'm giving them the platform where they can see it and they can be like, oh my God, I do know about that. I saw it on this page. And I remember I can go back and say, oh, I do know about that. I read that on this forum. I read that on this website. So it's a place where I can bring wrestling fans from all generations, from all eras, all around the world to one place to appreciate professional wrestling.
When did you notice your following really start to pick up? I mean, there's got to be a ton of Instagrammers out there that are trying to model themselves after you, kind of copycat you, because you do have such a big following. What was the turning point that you were like, okay, this went from me trying to get my content out there to actually becoming, wow, I have legions of fans? What was the turning point in your Instagram story? What was the turning point for you?
I think the biggest deal would have been probably, like I saw the following grow as it went on. I saw certain people liking things. Once I kind of started seeing actual WWE superstars and TNA superstars and other wrestlers around the world liking stuff and following, like that was pretty big for me. I had this wild idea one time that I was gonna make shirts and sell them. So I got a bunch of shirts that I produced myself, and I sold all of them. Like I sold other shirts. I was sending them all around the world, whether it was England, whether it was Australia, whether it was America. And I think one of the biggest things that really made me notice that there was potential is I went to WrestleMania 32 in Dallas, Texas, which was at the AT&T Stadium. 100,000 fans just there for WrestleMania. A bunch of small wrestling events going around there too, because all the other independent companies, they all come in there to have their shows because it's the busiest wrestling weekend. You're like in a city full of wrestling fans. It's like, it's contagious. Like you couldn't go nowhere without seeing someone in some sort of wrestling shirt. And then I started seeing people in my shirts. And I was like, oh, this is a thing. This is something that people really appreciate this page. They really appreciate what I'm doing. They really appreciate the fact that I either take them back to their childhood or I teach them something new. I show them something they might have never seen before. I've built this connection with this fan base of wrestling fans that's very special. And I think that's when I realized like there was more potential and there's a lot more I can do.
What were the numbers that it finally hit that number and then it just started to snowball? Because you're at over 550,000 followers now. What was the number? Just for these guys trying to start accounts now, what was the number where you saw it go from, okay, I'm getting 10,000, 20,000, and then all of a sudden it was boom?
I honestly think it was 10K. Once you hit 10,000, and I think it's a lot of a perception thing too, and a lot of people that have also passed 10,000 followers will say that too, because there's two things. One, when you look at the number, you don't see it change until a full number changes. You're not seeing like, 900, 533 followers, and then it drops into 900, 529. Like you don't see that, so you don't know who's following you and unfollowing you. And it's also the perception of like, at that time, I think it's changed now, because now there's a lot more fan pages of, not even just wrestling, like hockey and rare sports images, and they all got lots of followers now. But when I was on Instagram and when I hit 10K, it wasn't that common. Right. So the moment I hit 10K, I think it was a perception of, wow, this guy posts wrestling pictures, he posts wrestling, and it was just pictures back then, before they started letting Instagram do videos and stuff. So when they saw that there was someone on there that's posting wrestling pictures and he's over 10,000 followers, I think it's that perception of, oh, like he must be a part of the business, something. I don't know what went through, like it seemed like a bigger deal back then than it is now, because not everybody had that. I think there's a lot more pages now. Like I know there's a ton of wrestling pages and they have like 77,000 followers, 80,000 followers, but I've always kind of said I didn't do it for the followers. I didn't do it because I wanted followers. I did it because I wanted to share wrestling with people. And I think when I hit 10K, I knew it was something big. I knew there was potential there. I saw people wearing my shirts. I think it was 10K when I decided I was going to make shirts. That was the reason why. But after that, I kind of just stopped. Like, if you ask me today, like, hey, what day did you hit 100K? What day did you hit? I don't know. I stopped paying attention. That was never my intention to get 500,000 followers. When the number goes up, I'm happy. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I can't really be clear when I thought like this is crazy off the followers just itself.
What are some of the coolest people that you've been able to meet because of your clout, I guess? What are some of the coolest experiences that you can share with your followers that the Wrestling Classic Instagram page has allowed you, Justin, to have?
I've had a lot of good conversations and connections with people because obviously, like, I guess it.
Be specific.
Oh well, like I've had conversations with like Hulk Hogan. I've had conversations with Bret Hart, Ric Flair. Like it's that all that's super cool. But I think the coolest stuff is when I've actually got to work with wrestlers trying to do things. Something I still really want to do because I think I have an audience for them to reach because it's a different audience. Like I said, like I have fans that actually probably don't watch the product that much anymore that follow me, as well as people that are really big fans of the current product right now too. So I think it's really cool when I get to do stuff like that Q&A with Jinder Mahal. I get to meet Sheamus and do something with him because that's bringing these, even if I get to meet some of the independent wrestlers and like that are wrestling around the world in the independents, and I get to do something with them because that's giving them the exposure to like a different audience they might not have been able to hit. Like if you're wrestling the independents, but most of my audience are people that watch the WWE, like I'm giving you exposure to this WWE audience that doesn't really watch the independents and might not know who you are. If you're an old school fan that hasn't watched wrestling since 2002 or something, and I'm doing a Q&A with Jinder Mahal and you follow my stuff because you like seeing all the Rock and the Stone Cold videos from the Attitude Era, I'm introducing you to Jinder Mahal, and you probably wouldn't have really got to see the side of him unless you were still a fan. To me, that's the coolest experiences because that's my way of being able to give back. That's my way to be able to say, I'm trying to bring wrestling fans back into wrestling and bring everyone together. Yeah, it's cool to talk to The Rock. It's cool to talk to Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair or any of that stuff. Those are all super like cool moments for me personally. But I think cool moments for me and everyone else is when I get to do stuff where I get to give exposure to guys to an audience that they might have never been able to connect with.
So you're a bit of a quirky son of a bitch, a little bit, right?
Yeah, this is not showing off too much right now, but it will come out eventually.
So what do you want your fans to know about Justin that's maybe not just posts about wrestling, but what do you want everybody to kind of see a different side of you? I mean, you're obviously pretty on the border. You don't really favor a wrestler to another because you like to kind of walk that line and keep it open to everyone. But what's something that the fans might not know about your sarcastic humor, or what's your kind of, give us a little bit of insight to who Justin is. What do you like?
That's another loaded question because I feel like, and I'm not even just talking about myself, but I just think people in general, I think people are the most interesting, people are interesting. And I don't think, and I always think about myself too, I think I'm very weird in a sense, and I think weird's a good term. I don't know. I don't know. That's like, I feel like it's more of a just wait and you'll see type of situation, but the more I'm out there, the more you'll notice that I'm just like everyone else in the same sense that if I meet you for the first time, I'll be super awkward. But I think that it's because 99% of the time I don't know how to be normal. Like I don't know how to do the whole handshake, how are you, it's nice to meet you stuff. Like I'm more just in your face, and I seem like an open book, even though I'm probably not fully an open book. But I don't know. That's a tough question. It's more of a like you'll see when it comes around. Like there's a lot about me. There's layers. There's a lot of layers. Like if you look at me and you think it's just wrestling, like no, I love music. I love movies. I love TV shows. I think I love entertainment. I'm not a huge school person. If that turns anybody off, my bad. But I just think you can self-educate yourself. There's so much about me that like I could go on forever and talk about what I believe in and my values and who I think I am. But
so you said there's more to you than wrestling. What's with all the hot chicks in the morning? Good morning. You just waking up with morning wood a lot?
I'm helping the world wake up with morning wood. Okay, I'm trying to help everybody out. No, it was because when I first started my page, there was a point where I did post a lot. Like if you look at how many posts I have, there's like 40,000. Because there was a point where I'd post a lot, and there was times where there was guys that would message me and be like, hey, and sorry if I'm, throwing any of you under the bus, but there's been times where guys would message me and they'd be like, hey, you post a lot, I'm gonna have to unfollow you on that. And I'd casually just ask them, like, what is it about me posting a lot that makes you want to unfollow me? But like, I come on Instagram to like check out the girls and da 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 da. So I kind of figured, I'm like, you know what? As a guy, I 110% understand wanting to come on Instagram and see girls and the girls you're trying to flirt with and your family and your friends, I guess too. And I'm like, well, I totally understand not wanting to like come on Instagram and go through your feed and just see a bunch of guys in tights and underwears and wrestling with each other. Like I get that. So I'm like, I'm gonna incorporate women into the page, and it's come to a point, like when I first did it, it was really popular. Everybody loved it. It's come to a point where now it's like there are people that don't like it and there are people that do like it. I still get the DMs of people saying, hey, my girlfriend made me stop following all these models I used to follow, but thankfully you're a wrestling page and I can follow you and I can still see these girls. And then there's also the other half of the people saying, hey, like, why do you have to post this? What does this have to do with wrestling? But at the same time, it's like, it works. If something works, you don't change it, you can't satisfy everybody, but if it works, it doesn't disturb the piece. You're still getting the wrestling stuff. You're still seeing everything. It doesn't break what the content you're getting, but you get some women involved too.
On that note, obviously you care about your followers.
Yeah.
But how many fucks do you give when somebody tells you how to run your page or gives you advice? Does that something that weighs into your mind, or?
I'm gonna say this in a nice way. I want this to be like advice for anybody else that is running any sort of page or business or is a creative mind. Because I feel like creative people sometimes take criticism the worst. I've learned, don't give a fuck. If you're doing something and you're passionate about it and you're good at it and it's working, why would you take someone else's opinion and they can't do it themselves? If they have an opinion, they think that they can tell you how to run your page, then they can go start their own and they can run it that way. It's a whole thing that even nowadays, anytime someone says, oh, we're gonna unfollow you, and this might sound egotistical, but there's 1,000 wrestling pages on there on Instagram now. If you don't wanna follow me, go follow a different one. That's okay, because it's my personality that spreads across that page. And when you're saying you don't like something that's on there, you're kind of saying you don't like my personality. Well, go find a different wrestling page with a different personality that just posts pictures with captions telling you the date and the time and the second that it happened and like in the arena with how many fans were there. Like if that's what you want, there's pages for that. I'm giving you opinions, I'm giving you values, I'm giving you this and that. Like I do appreciate people's feedback. I do listen to them. If they want to see a wrestler a certain bit more, they want to see a certain clip. Like I hear those things, I see those things. The followers that followed me for a long time will know that. Like I do read their comments, I do respond, I do try to interact with them as much as I can, and I think that's a big thing, interacting with your followers. But at the same time, if you are trying to tell me how to run my page, and then I go to your page, and you got like 100 followers, and you're not doing anything like creative or special in your life to like express your own creativity, since you have all these ideas and thoughts, then why would I take your advice? If it's someone credible, if it's someone that has done something and has like something to back up their advice, like I'm giving you this advice because I'm in this industry, or I've done this, or I am in marketing or social media, then 110% I'll take your advice. If you're just giving it to me because it's something you don't like, you're more than welcome to unfollow.
Any advice for somebody that's about to start an Instagram page right now? Give them the do's and the don'ts. Just list 3 real quick. What are the 3 do's and what are the 3 don'ts?
3 do's? Be yourself. Always be yourself. Like with be yourself, be original. It's the same thing. It's just be yourself and be original is the same thing. That's 2 things. That's
not number 2.
Oh, number 2 would be care about what you're posting. Give content. Like if you like it, there's a chance other people will like it too. Don't just post stuff because you think you're supposed to be posting. Don't start posting about New Japan Pro Wrestling because people are talking about New Japan Pro Wrestling, but you've never watched it in your life. If you don't watch it, don't post about it. If you're a music page and you listen to hip hop and classic rock, but you don't listen to reggae music, don't start posting about reggae music like you know about it if you don't really know. 3, interaction. I say it all the time, and I just said that a couple minutes ago, like always try to interact with your followers. Ask them questions, get their opinions, share your opinions. Make it so they seem like they have this connection with you where they can talk to you, they can DM you, that you're a person. Like for me, especially it's a wrestling page. A lot of people, if you come to that page, you might look at it and be like, oh, this is just a bunch of wrestling highlights and wrestling videos. The difference between me and someone like the House of Highlights or something is that you can talk to me. You can ask me for my opinion. I'll respond to you. You know, you can debate with me. I love a good, healthy debate about wrestling. I don't like it when it gets all, you know, anger. People get really angry and really stuck on their opinion. But like, I'm great with healthy debates. But it's the fact that you can have that with me. You can connect with me. So believe in yourself. Only post about what you know. Don't try to pretend, and connect with your followers. Those would probably be the 3 do's. The 3 don'ts. 3 don'ts. You don't know everything. That's number 1. Don't think that you know everything. With me, it's always like, you know, there's a ton of wrestling, and I learn something every day, and it's something that's still going. So there's always something new to learn. I don't know anything about wrestling. That's my number 1. The only thing I know about wrestling is I ain't know shit. The more I see the less, I'm like, I don't know anything about wrestling, and that's why it gives me the ability to give my opinions and thoughts, but always appreciate the fact that I'm not there. I'm not backstage. I'm not working for this company. I'm not the one calling the shots. I don't know why they make the decisions they do and why they don't. I don't know anything about wrestling unless I'm actually in the industry. And I think the biggest flaw that a lot of people do is they go on there and they try to act like they know everything. And for me, that's a big like no. 2, number 2 things something else you probably shouldn't do. Oh, this is just a life lesson. When you're talking to anybody in business or anything, just don't ever talk about religion or politics. It's a big no-no. Just don't do that. 3, what's a good 3rd one? Don't bitch and complain. Don't be a negative person. You can be super positive and people can be annoyed of you because you're super positive. But if you're super negative, it just looks bad. You're not going to get the opportunities you want. No one ever gave me an opportunity. Like I never talked to one of the people that are in the industry, whether they're a wrestler or a producer or anything, and without them saying that you give off a really positive vibe. You showcase wrestling in a really positive way. They're not going to reach me out and be like, "Whoa, you know, you shat on this. We really want to do an interview with you because you're a really negative person." Like that's not like, just be positive. Positivity gets you a long way. So don't be negative. That's number 3.
What's next for the Wrestling Classic?
Anything and everything. I want it all. I don't know. I don't know. I think for me, like the biggest thing is that I always want to know what's next, and it's been baby steps. You know, I've been taking it really slow and just kind of dipping my toe in things. I tried doing a podcast and that failed. I said I was gonna do this YouTube thing for years now, and we're still trying. But for me, I think the biggest thing I want to do, and I will always want to do, is somehow find my way to be a part of the industry in a way where I can make more people watch wrestling. And if they don't even want to watch it, like I don't care if you don't want to watch it, but I want it to be as appreciated as other forms of entertainment or sports. Like don't get me wrong, I don't watch football. The Super Bowl is this Sunday. I don't give a crap, but I appreciate it. I understand it. I get the hype. That's a big deal. I don't give a crap about Twilight, but I'm not going to shit on the fact that it was probably a great series. There was a huge fan base and people appreciate it. It's pop culture. Wrestling was pop culture at one point. I'm not saying it's not pop culture now. I'm not saying that, but in a sense, it's not as big as it was when it was Stone Cold, The Rock, and they were all over, you know, television. I want it to be that popular again. I want it to be appreciated for what it is, and sometimes I feel like it's not. And if I can somehow find a way where I can keep doing that, whether it's me traveling and getting interviews with independent wrestlers, if it's me trying to get, you know, Media Row to WrestleMania, to be at WrestleMania, to show how cool that event is to this fan base I have that is full of people that loved wrestling back in the day, love wrestling now, maybe just like my weird tastes in music and all that stuff, like whoever does, I want all these 550 whatever thousand followers to see like, no, this stuff's still cool, these guys work really hard, and it should be like, it should be appreciated as much as any other form of sport or entertainment. In my mind, it still is the greatest form of both sports and athleticism and art put together. Like that's what professional wrestling is to me, the greatest form of art and athleticism as a combination. And if people could understand that, because you always get the whole, oh, it's fake, it's that, it's not, but for me, it's not fake, it's entertainment and it's an art.
One shout out to someone right now. Give a shout out.
One shout out to someone right now?
Someone.
Anybody. Shout out to Steve Cardello from Cardello Weight Belts, because if it wasn't for that guy, to be honest, half the wrestlers I've been able to connect with, half the giveaways I've been able to do, half the wrestlers that know who I am. He's got me more. He's been making weight belts for these wrestlers and athletes for the last 30 years, and he's got me more connected with these guys than I ever could imagine, because he saw something in me way at the beginning before anybody else did.
Give him a plug. What's his at?
Cardello Weight Belts, and you can on Instagram, and I think Cardello USA on Twitter. But yeah, he's the man.
Steve Cardillo. Thanks for your time, Wrestling Classic.
Thank you.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Ooh yeah, see you later. Yeah, there you go.